Hello and welcome to Electronics 1. So, I'm going to be starting from the basics, as you can imagine. Electronics 1. So the first statement that I really want to make here is that all electrical phenomena derive from the movement of electrons. Okay. Now, yeah. So basically, um, electrons um, exert um, an influence on an electrical field around them. So, but before we get to electrons, what I wanted to do actually is this is obviously very important, and it's key really how electricity and stuff works. But the best thing to do, so basically, and this word field is a force that acts at a distance. And I think it was actually, yeah, it's just after gravity, a bit like gravity. Gravity was the first one though. Yeah, and it's operates in 3D. Okay, so yeah, it's after gravity, but it's obviously it's different for, and it's actually a lot more powerful than gravity. But what I wanted to do first now for this one is I wanted to talk about the foundations and how some of this. Okay, so yeah, so centuries ago it was discovered that certain types of material, um, so certain types of material will attract each other once being rubbed together. Once rubbed together. So, so for example, if example is like silk and glass. So if you rub silk and glass together, they actually become attracted to each other. Um, Silk and glass. So we could also have head, right, I don't know, head and balloon, um, wax and wool cloth. Yeah, I could put a silk cloth maybe there as well. Um, because and so it's basically discovered that these um, so yeah, but so they basically they sort of stuck together. However, also maybe even when separated, there was an attractive force. So they still seem to actually go towards each other. So this is a physical, invisible force acting at a distance. So yeah, so like I just mentioned at the top here, um, and this electrical field acts at a distance. So obviously I'll get to talking around that, but this is obviously earlier on. But I wanted to try and make the point clear that it is force at a distance, and this is where of course all the electronics comes from. Um, However, and it was also found that um, identical materials, after being rubbed with their respective cloths, they actually repelled each other. So yeah, so for instance, if you've got like, so yeah, I mean, so say you had a glass, it's like a rod or something here. These glass rods would actually repel each other, right? So after being rubbed, so there's obviously something going on, and yeah, so like, and there were interesting properties. So we found that, well, it was found rather. There'll be two cases of any material demonstrating such properties. They'll either be attracted to glass and repelled by wax, or attracted to wax and repelled by glass. So these were the two scenarios that would happen, and there was no other scenarios that would happen. So yeah, it's basically one or the other. So yeah, so these findings were made up. So it's interesting. So maybe silk would be attracted to glass and repelled by wax, attracted to wax. So there's obviously something going on. And also, so also we mentioned, so for instance, identical materials after being rubbed with their respective cloths repelled each other. The cloths repelled each other as well. Okay. Okay. So so then obviously it was time to come up with a theory. So the things that were attracted to each other, things that repel each other. It was noted that if you put the silk cloth on the grass, if you do silk cloth and a glass rod, you do silk cloth and a glass rod, two separate instances, the silk cloths are going to repel each other, and the rods are going to repel each other. And like I mentioned here, there's also the silk cloth might be attracted to the glass and repelled by the wax. Yeah. So if you do like so if you do with the wool cloth sort of thing. So you do the silk. So for instance, you do the silk with the glass rod, right? And then they're attracted to each other. But then if you've got the wax of the wool cloth, then it's going to be repelled by that. So basically, it looks like one is getting, it looks like possibly that something's, it's getting some kind of energy increase of some kind. There's an energy increase or there's an energy decrease, and this is what's perhaps causing the attraction and the repulsion. But it's not. But so we need to move on a bit. So perhaps the answer. So speculation of invisible fluids. Okay. So right. So basically, so there's thought. So in a very sort of general terms, there's thought there's two invisible fluids. That could exert force at a distance. So this was the initial speculation. Okay, then later on, the idea was like there's not actually two fluids. There's only one fluid. So then later on, just do an arrow maybe to indicate later on. Just one fluid. And furthermore, I should actually put out that this was known as a charge. So each of these fluids was providing some kind of charge. But the idea was that these were both, in a sense, the idea was that these were both positive. But later on, it became clear that there was just one fluid. Well, obviously, you know, it's a lot more to the story than this. But yeah, the idea was that there was only there's just one fluid, and what was actually going on. So there was actually, so depending on the attraction or the repulsion, so there was either an excess of fluid or a deficiency. Okay. And that was equal to the two charges. So, well, yeah, I mean, yeah, so there's two charges, we could just put that's actually a definition. There's either an excess fluid or deficiency. Two charges. One is excess, one is deficiency. So, for instance, so if we say like, so let's look at the wax and the wool cloth, right? So for wax and wool cloth, why is the attraction there when you rub these together? Well, the idea is that the wax is going it's like, how's the best way to explain this? The wax is losing, so the wax is losing fluid, and the wool is gaining fluid. So this is the idea here. Wax is losing, so the wax is going down, the wool is going up. So this would mean that the attractive force is attempt to regain balance. Okay, so you can imagine it almost like it's like a sort of seesaw, maybe, when two people at equal weight, but the second person's just jumped on. You can imagine what's going on. So there's just, yeah. Well, I don't know. Kind of. So yeah. But yeah, because wax had lost fluid, this was known as negative. And the wool had gained fluid, this was known as positive. So we can see that we're starting to see the beginnings of understanding electronics, because we've got the negative and positive. Now, of course, things weren't exactly like this. And like I've mentioned at the top here, all electrical phenomena derived from the movement of electrons. Electrons exert an influence on the electrical field around them. So what I'll be doing next time is I'm going to be considering how we get from this stage of just, which is early on, looking at, you know, sort of physical interactions between objects that are just out there in the world, and how we get to this model with electrons.